have been.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no moon.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vedabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And of course, we're going to discuss the Obi-Wan finale that dropped today. Kenton, how early were you up to watch it?
I woke up early, so I watched it early. I don't remember, 6 a.m. or something? How about you?
Oh, I waited for a bit. I saw actually what reminded me. I'm ashamed to admit I forgot when I woke up. I just kind of went about my day. Made my coffee, watched Rhett and Link, kind of started looking at stuff. And I was flipping through TikTok. Maybe this is around like 9:30, 10 o'clock, actually. I can't remember. And I saw your TikTok. You often post a hilarious TikTok after the episode.
But mine has nothing to do with it.
No, well, I know it didn't. I know it now. I know it didn't. But like, oh crap, he's making a reference to something. Shut it down. Turn all social media off. I got to go watch Obi-Wan, and that's when I went and watched it. So thank you for the reminder.
Oh, well, sure. But and I try never to make a joke about something like for at least 24 hours, but even longer than that usually. There's so much that you could spoil in this episode. And based on Twitter, I would have been spoiled had I not got up early. If I just would have looked at Twitter, I would have been spoiled.
Stupid.
So yeah, although I don't go through and mute everything like some people do, but even then, there's no guarantee that you're gonna be able to block it all.
So there's a lot to cover here. How do you want to do this? Do you just start with overall thoughts and then kind of go through it like we usually do, or?
Sure. That sounds good to me. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean, I loved it overall. I thought it was excellent. I'm very, very happy with how it ended. Very well-structured episode. There's a lot of callbacks to other Star Wars, and I loved it. I loved how well it was paced. It just moved along super well. And it's only 51 minutes long. Like, they crammed so much into this. It feels like maybe they could have, like, spaced, again, well, I mean, this is just me wanting more content, right? If they could have spaced this out more, they could have spent more time with some stuff and done some more, but of course, we don't. We can only have so much Obi-Wan, I guess, is what they're trying to tell us. We open up on Tatooine with Reva. Now, unless you have something to say about this opening sequence with when she's looking for Luke, I guess. Wasn't even clear about that at the end of the last episode, what she was going to do with this information. But we find out right away. She's gone to Tatooine. She's looking for Owen. That's what she says. Now, ultimately, she's looking for Luke, the boy. All she knows is that it's the boy. Go ahead.
You forgot to let me give my overall view.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm so excited, Kenton.
I was like, before we get into, and by the way, the thing I have the least to say about is the opening scene of this.
Good.
Where not too much happens in the opening scene.
Yeah.
I want to say that I loved it too, and I think that a lot of people are going to pay a lot of attention to big, grand fight moments. But I thought the quiet little conclusion moments were some of the best Star Wars we had in just ages. And they were very careful about some things that really paid off very nicely. Like I've already seen people on Twitter who thought they saw something that they did not at all see. And because this episode was very careful about what characters could see and could not see and what they were told.
And which characters are conscious and which characters are unconscious.
Right.
So.
Even more than that, I think I just like that. I like that caution. I like the fact that it leaves us wanting more. If we never get any more, it's great. If we get more, it's great. Like it kind of left us in a very nice spot.
But what it really does, it shows that they care about it. It shows that they care about the details like we do, right? So they're not just going to run willy-nilly over all this stuff that we've grown up with. They're going to actually think about it and find a way to craft a story that fits into what we already know and reinforces some of what we already know. In some ways bad. I have one kind of, not major, but I have one nitpick about a line in this episode. But anyway, sorry. Okay, back to the most insignificant
Let's get back
scene.
to the boring first scene.
So here's what I would say. I said, let's come back to Reva at the end because we bookend this with Reva, right? It's Reva at the beginning, Reva at the end. So we'll come back to her. Overall, not relevant until the end of the episode. We immediately run back, and yes, the answer to what about that Star Destroyer in orbit was answered right away when we go back into a chase. And this is, of course, a long-standing Star Wars tradition of the not the long chase necessarily. We saw that in The Last Jedi, but this is a chase just like we see at the very beginning of Star Wars, and very reminiscent of that, I thought.
Yeah, it looks a lot like A New Hope. The Star Destroyer scenes are particularly great, I thought. They really did bring back that original, the A New Hope vibe so nicely. And it does make you want to watch that scene again to see, like, basically that scene with different ships from a new angle. But they do such a good job of making it look like that.
And they give it. Yeah, and this ship actually does a little more dodging, a little more weaving, a little more evasive action kind of thing. But it does kind of reinforce this thing that the Empire is just going to basically, it is a faster ship, it can dodge, it can stay ahead of them. It is the same idea as in The Last Jedi, whereas the Empire is just going to wait them out. The Empire is just going to sit there and wait. They're going to run out of fuel. They can't jump to light speed. My question is, why aren't they launching TIE fighters?
Yeah, they could have launched smaller ships. They're shooting at them. The shields only last a certain amount of time. Like it's sort of the Last Jedi type of setup. And instead of the Last Jedi, where they go off to gamble, where we find out that they're going to a gambling planet,
right,
where they instantly forget all about their friends.
Right.
Instead of that,
start worrying about some horses.
We have a real reason why somebody would leave their friends, which is because he knows that by leaving his friends, he'll get Vader to follow him, and it works. So it's great. It's
yes,
good.
and just such an amazing scene. And I honestly thought at the time we were going to see Leia for the last time. I wasn't sure we were going to come back to her with this goodbye. It's a great goodbye. It shows they really care about each other. That girl, again, is amazing. I'm going to look up her name right now. I'm going to look up her name. You go ahead and talk about it. And I'm
we need to see her again in another Star Wars quick before she grows up. Because I was actually thinking, I mean, she is Leia at the same time that we know a little baby Grogu has been rescued at this point in time. So there could be some crossover between baby Grogu and baby Leia. And don't think that the greatest minds at Lucasfilm haven't already thought about that.
Okay, well, her name is Vivian Lyra Blair. It's got to be Lyra. Wasn't Lyra the name of
Lyra, maybe? Is
it Lyra or Lyra? Lyra, but isn't that the name of the mother of in Rogue One? What's her name in Rogue One? I can take one, keep
Jyn
one
Erso?
name. Jyn Erso, yes. Lyra. Remember he calls it Lyra. Anyway, this little girl.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's her mother's name.
Yes, sorry, Rogue that's One? A weird thing.
No. I have
Vivian Blair. Her name is Vivian Lyra Blair. She's 10 years old, and she is coming up in The Boogeyman. Which I'm gonna go watch now that she's in it. But yeah, she hasn't done a whole lot. She's of course very young.
Yeah.
She's the girl in Bird Box. Who knew?
She's the girl in Bird Box. No way.
Yep. Girl.
Wow.
She's just girl. Remember those kids didn't have names? All right.
No, I was watching with a blindfold on while I drove my car. So how could I remember? Oh.
All right. Anyway, great girl. Yes. So I'm sure we will see her very shortly. But so yes, Obi-Wan gets on his ship and goes away. We have some great parting moments with him and I mean we should know the name, but this guy, I'm sure we're going to see him again as well. Odell Jackson Jr., who plays this rebellion leader. He says, "I'm just getting started." So there's probably some hint of something to come there, whether that be in a comic book or whatever, but something else, right?
Oh yeah, I mean there's loose ends that definitely could be tied up. That we're fine with them not being tied up because they're kind of side characters.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're okay with that not getting tied up. I think by the way, Obi-Wan's shuttlecraft that he uses when he leaves that ship looks like, I'm gonna have to go look at it, go look at both again. But the Millennium Falcon toy for these 3.5-inch figures or whatever has got an escape pod. And it looks like that. It looks like the ship that we saw. So I mean, like I've got my Millennium Falcon all assembled. And I have to get up on a stool to open the hatch and pull it up. etc. But I think the design it reminded me of that design. I can't say at
Well,
this point whether it's the same design or not.
well, certainly, but they certainly would go back to something like that to use as an inspiration for designs in the series, right? So
Yeah.
all that stuff, it's about around the same era of like building, like the same year, maybe you could say, like they're like cars, it's the same year model or whatever. So Obi-Wan, yeah, so Obi-Wan leads Vader away to just some random planet, the closest planet. Just gonna go over here and wait for him so they can have their showdown. Basically, that's all he wants to do.
At first, I thought it was Mustafar, but it was not Mustafar. I kept thinking, what is it? Is it Endor? Like, what is it? Where are we? Is it Dagobah? Like, but a lot of the time watching this episode, I was thinking things like that turned out to just be nothing. Just in the excitement of watching the episode, that was one of the things that crossed my mind for sure. Is like, what planet is this? But the planet doesn't have a name as far as I know. And hey, we'll find out later today. Probably Lucasfilm will tell us what planet that is or something. We'll find out, but but I don't think we know what it is right now.
Whatever planet it was a great setting for lightsaber battle because the lightsaber battle that came was incredible. But we didn't get there quite yet. They kind of built up to it. Again, the pacing was really good with this, and the way they kind of cut away and came back to it. The whole purpose, I guess, of the Reva thing was to give us someone else to go to while we were building up to that, rather than just show it to us all at once. So we cut back to Tatooine, and this is where I like this. Actually, I really like these scenes with Owen and Beru and showing them like, okay, here it is. We got to get ready. We knew, and Beru, she just is such a badass. She's like, okay, we knew this day was here. We got to get ready. We're gonna protect him, right? And they do. Like she's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good scene, and it explains a lot. Before this, we just thought Obi-Wan was sitting watching him with binoculars or was in the neighborhood, and
he was the only one doing anything, right? That's it. They're just raising him. They're not there to protect him. They're just there to raise him. No.
Right. No, that was good. It was a good scene, and it said a lot about what happens at the end of the episode. So I'm glad they had it. I never thought we were going to get an Uncle Owen and Beru fight scene against Reva. Oh, and I guess we should also
not only that, but even just to lead it to that when they're like arguing about it, and she just takes over. Like I just love that he's like, we have to do this. She's like, no, we're gonna stay, we're gonna fight, and she's right. She's absolutely right. Yeah, go ahead.
But also Reva is in bad shape.
She is, yeah. She's struggling. She's been stabbed in the gut. Whatever's going on.
I'm glad they did. I was worried that she was gonna just be right back to normal in this episode, and I think the fact that she was good because she should have been like badly wounded, and she appeared to be. She appeared to be sick in that opening scene and everything else. So which gave a more realistic chance to Owen and Beru. It didn't seem like they had stacked the deck in terms of like suddenly Uncle Owen has superpowers or force powers or something. Though I suppose they could have surprised us and shown Uncle Owen force powers, but that would have been too much, right? So,
exactly.
So I think the way they did it was right.
Yeah. And I want to say then we come back to the battle, and they're having some good discussion here. I think this is a great, like this whole back and forth with them, one of the great saber battles from Star Wars, right? Like up there with Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and even one of my favorites is from the Phantom Menace. I think those are great ones, but this is also, I would say, top 5 for sure. So good.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the heart of the show, the thing that we couldn't wait to see. When Kathy Kennedy said we're going to get the rematch of the century, this is what she was talking about. And it really is. It's great. It's great that we don't have lots of stormtroopers standing around, or it's just the two of them. And it's a planet we weren't expecting. I thought it was going to be Mustafar for sure when I saw in the art they released.
They just changed. I mean, they probably just kept this pose. They just changed out the background and said, "We'll still do that same fight. Won't do it." And because we've already had it on Mustafar, right? We've already had it on lava stuff. So that's already been done. So they're showing us something new. And there was lots of big rocky outcroppings and things that could throw at each other, and lots of force. And Obi-Wan really does get his groove back in this fight.
Yeah, and he gets his stance back. The great stance.
Yes.
So
that was cool too. That was a great moment. Yes.
That was like, okay, a fan service moment, but boy, it really works. There's a few fan service moments, more than a few in this, but it all felt right for this episode, and that it felt right. I'm glad they waited to give us this stuff, because then the payoff was just so exciting and so satisfying. So starting with the stance, That's when you can tell which way is this fight gonna go. You can tell.
Well, you can, but then at the same time, we have that part in the middle where like he buries him, Vader buries him in rock. And and this is like, I don't know if this is a problem with just Vader showing how impatient he is or how like overconfident he is, because he does the same thing with Reva. He just walks away without making sure she's dead. He does the same thing here. He buries Obi-Wan in rock, assumes he's dead, and just walks away. And of course, Obi-Wan's not dead. He's like holding up the rock with the Force, I guess is what we're supposed to believe, right? So it's like this ongoing thing. And we learn that, and this is just a really great, meaningful scene, that he really, it's the thought of Leia. It's the love he has for Leia that gives him the strength to push that to use the Force. And so that kind of really
he thinks of Luke too, though.
Yes, you're right. He does like both of them. You're right. Correct.
So it's the kids. It's protecting the kids and for the kids. That's why he does it. That's why he throws the rock, though.
And that really, to me, solidifies this connection they're making between light being positive, happy emotions, dark being negative emotions. Darth Vader this whole time has been all about the anger, the fear, the terror, horrible things. And Obi-Wan has struggled. He's been mostly fear this whole time, right? Fear and no confidence and that kind of stuff. But now he's finding love. He does it because he loves these kids. He loves and he needs to help them. So that's what gives him the strength. And that's how he finds the light side of the Force. And I don't think it's ever been so explicitly stated like that or shown to be that case.
No, I mean what makes the Force work in Star Wars is not explaining it so much and more like, remember midi-chlorians, nobody liked that, and too much of an explanation. And this kind of more, you can read a few things into it when you look at it probably. But it's better. The better you don't explain it, the better it works as a plot device. If you need it to as a plot device, that's when you're in trouble. Like when you kind of go, well, how come this or that? Oh, the Force, like that. That's when it starts to get a little sketchy.
Right,
but in this, it's like, you use it in battle, and both of them do.
Yeah,
in different ways.
Comes back, great comeback, great return, and really just starts wailing away on Darth Vader. And I saw the one thing I wrote down here, the wheezing sound effect brought me right back to like Return of the Jedi when he's like. There's that wheeze, the exact same sound effect. I know it is. So Obi-Wan really starts doing some damage here, cutting away at his instrument panel. There's a slash across his back. I don't know if you saw that in a wide shot. What else?
And how about the lifting the rocks? Where
you
get that shot?
Oh, wow.
That's a great shot. That's one of the biggest money shots in the episode, where that people are going to be memeing that and talking about that forever. Yeah. That's a great shot. That was just Obi-Wan going like, here it comes. Like, get ready.
Barrage of rocks. Like, it just goes on and on. It's crazy.
He throws Vader a couple times. Well, once for sure against that. Was it a tree or a rock? I can't remember
Cliff
now.
face or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. Throws him against that. And then of course, and just once again, a great and shaky cam, like handheld camera almost style footage, which really works. The background really works. The glowing lightsabers really work. And
the way they reflected on their faces during that conversation. Oh, so good.
Ewan McGregor's got a great face for the lightsaber light. And of course the Darth Vader helmet. I mean, that looks great. But then we get our money shot where crack across right on the cranium, right across the front of the helmet.
Yeah.
And we see half Vader, half Hayden Christensen, half Anakin.
Yeah,
and that is disturbing.
Yeah, and not only that, but they also combine the voices, which I really liked. So you can hear both. You can hear Hayden Christensen's voice in there and James Earl Jones. I'm sure they have them both voice it together and combine them. But it's so good because there's one line where he says, it sounds like Hayden Christensen, then it goes to Obi-Wan, like super deep. Like it just like middle of sentence, it changes. It's not just like it's together. They like modulated it around. And that whole sequence, we just learned that he's like, Anakin is dead. I'm what's left. And I killed Anakin and all these things that he's saying. And it's just like, oh my God, he is a monster.
You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I killed him. I think that's the big line. And that's like, and the hybrid voice and really they show Obi-Wan. And I guess, it's Obi-Wan's compassion that gives him his power. And he still, He says Luke's line. Luke in Return of the Jedi says, "Then my father's really dead," and Obi-Wan in the episode says, "Then I guess my friend is really dead."
Yep.
So it's the same line delivered, with one different word, but it shows, like, I think the key takeaway. Why does this show exist? Why does this fight exist? It's because Obi-Wan has compassion where Vader does not. And when Obi-Wan just kind of walks away, Vader looks pathetic. He looks pitiable. He's weak. But once again, probably Obi-Wan should have killed him, probably.
But he doesn't.
Because he has compassion.
Right, and he has the lightsaber of the Force. That's why he didn't kill him the first time. Right, that's why he walked away the first time. He couldn't do it. He couldn't actually strike him down and kill him. He left him to die. That's why that happened. Anyway, yes, my only issue with this scene is the goodbye, Darth. I didn't like that. You like that?
You know why that's good? It mirrors Only a Master of Evil, Darth.
I know, but but you don't have to do that. They can
it's good.
Okay, I didn't like it.
You know what? For 30 years or actually longer, we've heard people say he calls him by the wrong name.
Right, he did it again. He did it again here.
No. This makes it the right name.
Okay,
so we never have to hear that again.
Oh.
This is an intentional Darth.
I know it is.
Everybody's like, that was a mistake back when they shot the original film. I can't take it anyway.
Because it wasn't a mistake. But we don't have to explain all of these. We don't have to explain all these lines.
Oh, every generation of fan has to point that out, and it's brutal. No more.
That's what I'm saying. If they hadn't done it, nobody would have thought about it. If they hadn't said this, now everybody's thinking about it, and everybody's going to be talking about it. But I would say that
I like it. We don't
have. Okay, well, that's fair. We don't have any. We don't explain anything. Yeah, let's not come back to it. We don't ever hear anything about the line in Return of the Jedi where Leia says my mother. She talking about how she remembers her mother. They have not addressed any of that stuff. They don't have to, as far as I'm concerned. Who cares about what the lines were in the movies that are 40 years old? Build from here, right? So I just don't think it was necessary, because his name is Vader. Darth is a title. We all know that, right? And he knew that because he had Darth Maul. He had to deal with a Darth. And Darth Sidious. He had two Darths.
If his name is Commander Vader and he goes, okay, Commander, sarcastically, it's the same thing.
Oh, is that what you're saying? He's saying?
Yeah.
Goodbye, Darth. Well, you should put a little more into it then.
Goodbye,
Come on,
Darth.
Ewan.
Goodbye, Darth. Or whatever your stupid title is. That's what he's.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
That's what I think it is. And even, I think it's sort of thrown out that way. And I think also in A New Hope, that's the idea too.
No, I think
in Master of Evil.
In The New Hope, they were never sure what his first and last name was. They didn't know what Darth Vader meant when they were shooting that.
I think
Certainly, Alec Guinness did not know.
No, Alec Guinness did not know, but I think George Lucas did.
Probably.
And George Lucas famously doesn't care how actors read lines. Read the line. You say the line, and I will say okay, and it doesn't really matter. And we'll fill in
look what he did with it. Yeah. Look what he did with it. George, give him just beautiful. I mean, I can't argue with that, right?
Okay, so how did you feel then about? So we have that callback. Then we have a callback to something that everybody hated in the prequels and Revenge of the Sith, but I didn't mind because I always say it's Frankenstein when he moans. It goes, no, we got him this time going Obi-Wan. He screams. And I found it haunting and chilling. But what did you think about that scene? Too much.
I didn't recognize it for the same shot. I didn't see that as that callback to that. I guess I didn't think of that. No, I didn't think it was haunting. I mean, it was haunting and chilling because it was the in the moment of that, it was haunting and chilling. I was also wondering, part of me in the back of my head is going, why doesn't he just kill him? I'm just thinking, come on, Obi-Wan, just kill him, just do it. But he can't. We know he can't. They're all, and this is great storytelling because they're very, very constricted here. They can only do so much, and we know the outcome. So it's very hard to make this compelling when we know the outcome. But they did it. They did a great job with it, I think.
Yeah, I think, and at first, of course, I thought the same thing. You should just kill him. You put, imagine the damage that this guy is going to do across the galaxy. But then the other
for another 10 years. He's got another 10 years or 8 years or whatever it is until A New Hope, right?
But if you're the Jedi who shows no compassion and shows no mercy, then you take Darth Vader's place. I think that's the other side of the coin. Whereas I don't you don't want an evil Obi-Wan Kenobi running around, an Obi-Wan Kenobi without mercy running around, because then you just have another Darth Vader. So there is a good reason to leave him behind, and the writers asking themselves, what is that reason? And the reason is because Jedi show compassion, or at least Obi-Wan does. And so I think.
And Vader's done, by the way. There's no question about it. People might be saying, oh, why doesn't Vader get up? He's fine. He can get up. He can have a conversation. No, he's done. Once his mask comes off, he's got to get to like a back to tank stat, right? He cannot have his face open to the air for too long, I don't think. So that's very realistic, I think, as far as that character is concerned.
And that scene reminded me, the first time I saw Hayden laying on the ground screaming in Revenge of the Sith, I remember just going like, ugh, like getting a sick feeling in my stomach, like, oh, this is so, being burned that way. And you're like, and he's so gross laying on the side of Mustafar. And I got the same feeling watching this, where you see his face is just so horrible, and you hear it, the blend of Hayden Christensen and James Earl Jones, and you're just, wow, you understand why Obi-Wan writes him off. You get it. Yep. Luke still thinks there's good in him, and Obi-Wan says no way. And it makes perfect sense when you see this scene.
Absolutely. And of course, Obi-Wan's got other things to worry about, because as soon as he gets back in the ship, he feels that Luke's in trouble and starts to rush off. Now, I think it's a bit of a false attempt to create suspense in something I never felt suspense in, because coming back to Reva at the end of this, I never felt like she was a threat. I didn't know what she was doing. I didn't know what her intentions were throughout this whole thing. She seems to be killing Luke. Why would she want to kill Luke?
To take Vader's place. I think at some point there's a line in here where I thought she said something, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but the first time watching it through, I missed a couple. I definitely missed some lines because I was going, oh, ooh, ee, ah, ooh, and the first time.
What was that again? How are you going again?
Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah. The first time I watch anything, I miss lines, and so, but I thought she had a line about. Oh, I'm pretty sure she had a line about taking his place or something. And it might be when she sees Luke. It might be when she sees him passed out. It might be.
No, she says, I couldn't do it. I failed them.
She failed. Well,
he killed them all, and I couldn't do it. She failed them. She failed the other Padawans.
She couldn't fight him back. She couldn't kill him.
I guess she couldn't do it. I don't know. I still don't understand. Like, she's still trying to kill. She's trying to get back at Darth Vader. She wanted Luke so she could get back at Vader, right? But Vader doesn't even know he exists.
Well, I mean, when she shows up at the Lars homestead, she is going to take Luke, kill Luke. And then she has a change of heart when she sees herself in him. Mm-hmm. But you're right. We don't really. Maybe on second watch there might be something. As I say, something. I thought there's some line, but I might be wrong.
I'll try to scroll back there in a second. But what I want to say about this is that. Oh no! Now I lost it. Oh yeah, where was what's his name? Was supposed to be here. Where was Bale throughout all this? Bale was supposed to head back there. He should have been there already. You know what I mean? Like, he was heading back that way.
I really thought he was going to show up. But you know what? Then it occurred to me. Well, he changed his mind, but they really needed him to say Tatooine on that.
That's right. All she got was boy, Tatooine, and that's it. And Owen, and then that's all she had to go with. Right. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the scene here, so I'm going to watch this and see what the lines are. I have it on mute, but the subtitles are on, so. Right. But yeah, overall, I didn't think that she was ever like a huge threat. And again, it was just something to distract from the other stuff happening. So ultimately, I'm not thrilled with how her storyline is wrapped up, because we don't really have any kind of closure on her. Is she going to continue to try and kill Darth Vader? Probably. I guess where that's character's going to go. She's going to try and come back from the dark side. She gasps. Okay, this is what happens. She gasps. She sees herself. She sees flashbacks to Anakin. It's really well done. Cut together. There's Luke unconscious. Luke doesn't remember any of this, by the way. For him, it's just a day of running away from Sand people.
Well, we talked about the caution that they used in this episode. At no time does he see the lightsaber.
Exactly, yes.
Time. He never sees it. And that's very important for A New Hope. Because
he says, well, he doesn't know what it is, right? No, she doesn't say anything. She She stops and grits her teeth, and that's it. And then the next time we see her, it's afterwards. She's like, I couldn't do it. So somehow she was thought killing Luke would hurt Darth Vader, and she's upset because she couldn't kill Luke. She couldn't go through with it.
I don't know. I think she's the closest thing we've had in Star Wars to not being somewhere between a Jedi and a Sith. And she's confused about it. I think that's the character. That's the character's story. She doesn't know. Mm-hmm. And she feels guilt and all kinds of stuff. And not to mention she's in agony. She's in pain. And I think she has to make sense of it. I think that's where we kind of leave her.
Now, does she ever kill in this series at all? Do we see her actually kill people, or is it ever just like hurting people?
Well, she sticks her lightsaber through the Grand Inquisitor.
Well, other than that guy, other than bad guys.
She let me think for a second.
Because I think that if she hasn't, then she you have to imagine she's done some horrible things to prove to Vader that she was on the dark side, right? So she has embraced the dark side in order to prove to him that because he can feel the dark side. Yeah. But I'm just like, we're not sure how far she's had to go. I assume she's had to kill people. We have to assume that, right? To prove herself. So I just can't remember if she did it in this series or not. I just remember at the very beginning, I was convinced she was like fully on the dark side, and now it's like, oh, okay.
Well, we have Jedi locked in amber at the headquarters, which would imply that, and whether they're dead or alive, we don't know.
Man. No, apparently they're alive.
At the very least, she captured a Jedi. At the very least,
right?
And maybe killed them too. But yeah, we don't know enough backstory to be able to put it all together.
And then we kind of get into like what it is. It almost made me feel like the Return of the King was like ending after ending. They had to kind of wrap up all these things, but it was awesome. Each one was like better than the last. Hey. Yeah,
and we know that this is what has to happen. There's still some stuff that needs to be resolved. So
we have Vader and the Emperor back on Mustafar. Vader gets a call from his boss, and he is ready to go after. He's like, "We will destroy everything in our path. We will find him." And then the Emperor's like, "Maybe not. Let's just back off a bit here."
I like that Ian McDiarmid said, "Don't get your hopes up about seeing me in the thing." So he's the first lying actor who we see show up, and it's exciting.
Well, I mean, I think what he meant was like he's only in this for 2 minutes and that's it. I mean, that's all he got.
No, he was more like you won't see me at all. It was more okay. But I thought it was great. It's always great to see him, and it's great to see him in this. It's exciting. And at first, when Vader had the hologram on, I wouldn't let myself believe that it was the Emperor until we got the shot. Because sometimes, every once in a while, you get one of those where you think what it is, and then it isn't.
Okay, so here's where I come up with my theory about this whole thing. I think is just kind of it's a analogy or whatever you call it for mental health, for taking care of your mind and coming to terms with things that have happened in your past. The whole point of the series is about Obi-Wan coming to terms with what he did. And he does that in this episode. He figures out, oh my God, it wasn't my fault. It was Anakin. It was always Anakin, and he's come, and his friend is dead, and he can move on. He's able to move on, and he comes to the end. And we'll come to that. I don't want to talk about that thing at the end. I will come to that in a second. But for Vader, in this conversation, the Emperor says to him, "Nope, slow your roll, buddy. We don't need to. If you can't deal with this stuff and keep your," he basically doesn't want to throw all these resources after whatever is happening, right? He's like, "No, we're just gonna relax." And Vader says, "Okay," he means nothing to me. And Vader is shutting that out, which is what you're not supposed to do when dealing with trauma and other things in your life. So Vader is shutting it out. He's not going to deal with this until Return of the Jedi. And whereas Obi-Wan has now kind of come full circle, which leads us into, well, we don't get there yet, which leads into the final scene. But then we go back to Leia and see her getting ready. And that was great, little kind of callback to that original introduction of her.
Yeah. And once again, she's a great little actor. Oh. And she gets the holster, of course. She gets the Padme's. I didn't know what that was at first, and it wasn't so iconic that I think everybody will recognize.
Sorry, that's Padme's holster?
I believe that's what it is.
Oh, I thought it was what's her name's holster, the woman that was with them. I'm confused about that then.
Oh, maybe I'm the confused one. I'm not sure. Did she say? But that was a little unclear anyway. But it looked good on her.
And he can't give her a gun because she's only 10, right? That was the line. That was a good line.
Do they say anything about it?
I'll go back to it.
when he talks to her, when Obi-Wan talks to her before saying goodbye.
I don't know.
I think there's some reference. Well, there's definitely.
Yeah, of course, because he gives it to her, right? And he says,
but
Roken found it before we got out. Who's Roken? She would have wanted you to have it. This is for his friend
you're right.
who just died.
It's not Padme. Yeah, you're right. You're right. As I say, it's not iconic enough.
Well, and my question was, is this like Leia getting her holster is like Han getting his blaster in Solo? Because that was kind of lame too. They tried to make that a bigger deal than it was.
No, getting the dice became like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that became far more. It used to just be an in joke.
Right.
That he had a pair of dice hanging.
Yeah.
From the thing for luck, but I think the holster. I mean, it just. I guess Leia got to see someone in action, got a female role model.
Right, and represented, but just it's something that belongs to this person she cared about who's no longer around, right? Sometimes you remember her by it. But then it becomes a symbol for her, like as she's getting dressed, she dresses her own way. She does it herself. She doesn't have any helpers or anything like that, like we saw at the beginning. And it's very simple, and she wears this holster. And her mom's like, "What's that?" And she's like, "Something I want to wear." Okay, fine. It's like when your kid, honestly, you let your kids dress how they want. I've learned that the hard way. You let them dress how they want. Okay?
I learned it the hard way.
I'm not gonna give them a blaster, but I would let my kids wear a holster, no problem.
It's probably a bad idea to wear a holster around town, probably.
Probably, yes. In our environment, yes. Sure. Anyway, so then we get a nice little scene, a nice little closure scene between her and Obi-Wan, which I didn't think we were gonna get. So Obi-Wan comes back, and we get a little. And again, you're right. They're tiptoeing around these lines that are in A New Hope, and this is actually, I like that they actually acknowledge it here, kind of, that. We have to be careful when talking about each other. So basically he's telling her, don't just say, "Hey, Ben, buddy, remember when we got together," and all that stuff. That's why in the original communication, she says, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi," because she can't let anybody know what happened here, right?
Right. General Kenobi, years ago, blah, blah, blah. Like, right.
Very formal, because that is what the communication would sound like from somebody who would not know who he was. But then, you're right, later on in the movie, when she says, "Ben Kenobi, where?" She's excited. So that's a nice little bit of maneuvering, I think.
Yeah, the scene just plays well. Oh, and we should also mention in the last two scenes, so we finally in the Vader scene get dun 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 dun. So we got it, and then we get the Leia theme again, and that's like and that theme that's one of the most iconic Star Wars themes that John Williams ever wrote. So hearing it again. That's going to pull at the heartstrings for sure.
Are they releasing the music for this the same way they did for Book of Boba Fett?
Oh, I never even thought of that. They must be. They must be,
because I noticed during the chase scene at the beginning, there was like remnants of like the asteroid chase from Empire Strikes Back. There's parts that like throughout this whole episode, the music was excellent. So I'm gonna look that up when we're done here. So then she says goodbye to Obi-Wan. Oh, then Obi-Wan cleans out his cave. He's moving on. He's done with the sad cave. I'm calling it the sad cave. Because he's just like, this is where he's not going to go back to the meat packing plant. He's saying goodbye to his life here. But then he has to stop by one more time, stop by the farm. And then again, a very nice little moment here.
What they don't show us is very nice. What they don't show us. Way to go. Thanks for not showing us that. Because I think they show us just the right amount. And it tugs at the heartstrings when he says, do you want to meet him? And so he walks up to Luke. We get him saying, "Hello there."
Hello there.
Hello there. We've been
Another
waiting for that.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for that. And now when you see Luke in A New Hope playing with the Skyhopper toy, sitting there talking to R2-D2 and C-3PO, it takes on greater meaning. Yeah. And we don't get the conversation between Obi-Wan and Luke. And I don't think we should have got it. I think that's the exact right choice. The show wasn't about Luke. Luke was in it a little bit, but does he have a line? I don't know if he even has a line, does he?
I don't even know what he says.
I don't even know if he has a single line in the thing.
He does not. He just kind of smiles and looks at him. Yeah, you're right. And it's honestly, it's about Obi-Wan, and it's so well told. All comes together very, very well, I think. And it's you're just kind of leaving him out. It all happens, and Luke's just kind of this bystander. And oh well.
When he says, "I want," you're right, Owen. He should grow up as a boy, just a boy, and you you can protect him. He doesn't need me. to protect him. You guys can protect him.
Right. Now, he seems pretty I guess he's confident. I don't know why he's so confident in that, because Vader is so out there. He doesn't know that the Empire shut him down. So why is he so confident that he's not going to find Luke? Because he doesn't know about him?
I think that shows growth in the character, that he does not need, he can let this kid just be a kid, and fate will take care of itself. I think the fact that Owen and Beru will do anything to protect Luke, and he's seen that shows him that he is in good hands. If he has to do something else, or if he's going to go someplace else, then he can rest assured that they're being looked after the best way possible. And he doesn't say, don't ever contact me or anything. No. He doesn't say, like, I'm not here to help either, or that's anything. So there's, there's other possibilities.
That's what I was going to say. Remember now, I get the feeling that, when Luke first refers to Ben in A New Hope, he says, old Ben, the old hermit who lives out across the Dune Sea, or whatever he says. So you get the feeling that Luke has met him a few times, it's not just a stranger. He's an old guy. So I get the feeling that Obi-Wan's going to stop by from time to time over the next 10 years, right? Or however many years, and give him a gift or say hi. And as he's passing by, he's going to say hi, that kind of thing. So it is somebody, but not somebody he knows really well, and certainly not somebody he knows the importance of in his life, right?
Right. And that's true. He knows him in A New Hope. Luke says, "You mean old Ben? Do they mean old Ben?" Like, so he knows he exists. That was always a good line in A New Hope, because you always wondered, how does he know him? Like, what's the story? Like, what do people say about him, or how has he heard of him? And this really does a nice job of showing, even if this is the only time that he's aware of him, that would likely be enough, and he'd hear other stories about him probably from other people. But I'm still sort of thinking about what this means at the end in terms of him going away. What it might mean is season 2.
That's what I'm thinking, and especially that's compounded by the fact that the final shot here, the final sequence, he finally sees Qui-Gon. Which is like, what? At first I was like, well, okay, they didn't give it to us. I'm like, fine, they're just going to save it. They're going to do it another time. No Qui-Gon. I was pretty resigned to the fact by the time we got to the end of this episode that we weren't going to get Qui-Gon. Actually, thought for a minute there, I thought we were going to get them at the same time. Like, he was going to appear to both of them, to both Anakin and Obi-Wan, as they were fighting, or in the middle of the fight, he was going to appear to them and talk to both of them. But no, you can't see him until you are at peace, at balance with the Force, I guess is what they're trying to say, right? It's not until after he has this little kind of moment with Luke and he's starting to have like good, happy thoughts, that Qui-Gon will appear to him.
Well, he said, "I've been around all the time."
Yeah,
you weren't ready. What took you so long is basically, maybe those are his exact words. I don't remember, but it's funny. I didn't expect him to be funny. I did it.
Oh, I did. He was always funny. Yeah. Liam Neeson, he was always, Qui-Gon always had a sense of humor.
It was funny, and his beard has grown a little. He's aged as a Force ghost.
I mean, he's aged as a person, right? And they didn't go overboard to try and make him look younger or anything like that. It's fine. He doesn't have to look like he did 20 years ago.
I dug it. I dug that a lot. I thought that was making us wait. And you don't start a series with him going, Qui-Gon, oh, he won't answer me, and then not have it at the end. My concern, I knew we were going to get something, but my concern was not just a voice, not just Liam Neeson went to the recording studio and wrote a couple lines so J.J. Abrams could drop it into a montage or whatever. Like, that's not what I wanted. And hey, who cares what I want? But it's less satisfying from an audience point of view to not see and I actually think that there'd be more goodwill for the last Star Wars movie if you saw the Jedi who were speaking than if, like, we're guessing at whose voice is that?
I had flashbacks to that scene during the whole, like, him pushing his way out of the rocks, because he was hearing. I realized now it was like him hearing all the negative thing and all the negative emotions of the dark side of the Force, all the things that Vader said to him. But then he feels like Leia and feels the love for Leia and pushes the rocks out. So I realized that wasn't. But I did feel with all the voices, they were kind of harkening back to that Rise of Skywalker scene a bit. So no, I do think that we could get possibly a second season, The Adventures of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and it's like his wisecracking Force Ghost friend every episode. Go on some adventures together, and it's like kung fu, and he travels across Tatooine. He's going to meet up with what's his name, Corn on the Cob. He's going to meet up with our friend Amy Sedaris, and
No, he's and I don't know if we probably will get a season 2 because if what they're saying about viewership is true,
what are they saying?
They'll want it. Well, it's the premiere was the most watched show in premiere in Disney Plus history.
Okay.
And I don't know how that. Maybe they'll have something to say about it again now that it's we've reached the end. I thought for sure in the credits we're gonna go like coming soon, but no, they let it sit. And I think if they just let it sit and they never do anything with this again, that we have a great little story that was told right in the middle, and it's great, and we can all like be happy about it. But they definitely left it open, and just seeing how great Ewan McGregor was in this episode, he's so good in this episode, and you got Liam Neeson now. And to not have him on Dagobah with the ghost of Liam Neeson would be a tragedy. They got to go to Dagobah.
See, I feel like it's going to be, if they do season 2, it would be them just wandering the desert and doing things on Tatooine, because he's not leaving the planet. No? You think he's so let me look at this final shot. You see him off in the distance, right? And he says, "Come on, we have a long way to go." And Qui-Gon says that, and they're gone. He's going to fly away. He's going to leave the planet and go somewhere else. You think he's not going to stay on Tatooine?
Well, he has more Force training to do. That he's got a long way to go, a figurative long way to go, and a literal long way to go. And I think we've Jedi training. Qui-Gon has learned how to commune with the living from the other side. And Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's going to teach Obi-Wan Kenobi how that works. I doubt we're ever going to see that. I think if we do a second series, that part will be done. And
I see. Okay.
Obi-Wan will have something else to do. I don't think we'll ever see Obi-Wan with Leia again. I think that part of the story is done. Though I wouldn't be surprised to see him back on Alderaan for some reason, with her in the distance, that kind of a scenario maybe. But the Darth Maul storyline is still out there that we saw in Rebels.
He ends up back on Tatooine at some point because of that, right? By the way, the line is, "We have a ways to go," is what Qui-Gon says to him at the very end. I just saw it. But yeah, so there's a lot of ways they could go here. I'm agree. I would be happy if they just stopped it here. I really don't need to see anything else. I'm okay. This is great. I love this. This is a great, it's better than a movie in a lot of ways because we have it spaced out and we get to kind of experience it for longer. So I really like that part of it. But at the same time, we could go through and watch all 6 episodes of this in a row, and it would feel like a really long movie, right? It would still be really, really cool. I would love to see these again. At some point, I will do this. Maybe I'll organize it myself. A screening in a theater of these things that are on Disney Plus. Somehow we can do this, I'm sure.
Well, they're showing the last episode tonight at
right. I'm not going
forever. No. I to me, it's not. I can watch it 100 times on Disney Plus, and probably the Q&A that they're going to have is going to be online in 3 days or something. Or maybe
I got better. Umbrella Academy season 3 just dropped today. I got better things to do. Watch that. I've already moved on.
I've sort of I've worn out on Umbrella Academy.
Oh really? Oh come on.
I've worn out on it, and Stranger Things. I'm going to give that a shot next. But even that, I just don't. When there's Star Wars around, some of that other stuff, you just start to go, well, look, there's the thing up here, and then there's the derivative stuff that's somewhere a bit lower, and sure, I got some laughs out of Umbrella Academy, but I'm not in any rush.
Okay.
I'll probably see it, but I'm not in.
Honestly, we don't have long to wait because Andor is coming out August 31st. It's just a few months until Andor. So we'll be right back here doing covering that as well. And I'm excited. That's gonna it also takes place around the same time period as well. Wow. So they're gonna build out this part of the Star Wars mythology even more. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think with Kenobi and Vader, we got something that was closest to a movie than anything. Mandalorian has had its episodes for sure, But this really was like classic Star Wars, like the characters, the storyline, et cetera, et cetera. And then with Andor, I don't expect it to be. I expect it to be a great story with maybe some famous characters will show up along the way, but we're definitely not going to be seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi fighting Vader and Andor standing in the distance.
No. We're done. I think we're done with that. We're done with that now. We don't need to come back to it. We're done. Even when we come back to Obi-Wan season 2, Vader's not going to be part of it. We're done with Vader for a while, I would say. Like everyone, and by the way, we're going to see a big Vader push, I'm sure, in the merchandise shelves and that kind of stuff. There's going to be all kinds of Darth Vader stuff. And I've seen the Darth Vader collection on Disney Plus. They're already grouping the movies together in a way in which you can see just Darth. I mean, isn't it all Darth Vader's story? Isn't that the point of this whole thing? But
yes and no.
The first 6 movies are anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, I know I'm excited for what's to come. I'm enjoying this. I am loving it.
I think I do want them to do a second season. I'm all for it because, as I said, Ewan McGregor is so good. As I was watching it today, I just thought, if he's around, you got to do it. You got to do something.
Everybody's having fun. Why not? Right. It's
right. Strike while the iron is hot. Like,
yeah.
I think people are really digging this, and the folks and the haters who aren't. Well, you don't have to watch anything, Like I don't have to watch Umbrella Academy,
and you probably won't.
You don't have to watch Star Wars. It's fine.
Well, I think a lot of people who are hating on it are hating on it for the clicks. I think that's a legitimate business model now, and so they're really nitpicking and picking stupid things, stupid little details. I don't even know what people are hating on about this episode. I haven't even looked at this point, but I don't really care. I had a great time watching it.
It pops up in my YouTube feed. I was also going to mention what's as good as Star Wars or what's coming up. Better Call Saul in 2 weeks.
Right.
The final 6 episodes. And that's probably as close as I'm going to get to my excitement about Star Wars from any other property until Cassian Andor shows up.
Right. So yeah, that'll kind of bridge the gap. So great job, AMC, for timing that out. I'm sure it was intentional. They had looking to fill the holes in the summer there.
I think it might have more to do with Bob Odenkirk's hospital visit.
Probably did.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. All right.
Well, I think I know where the hospital visit happened.
I did too. We talked about that, didn't we? With the running scene? That was crazy, the running scene. Absolutely, yes.
Out at the Albuquerque Heat.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll discuss that as well when that comes back. But until then, that's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you in the ass.
That's no moon.
Now I am the